To the podcast, hablemos de lo nuevo. For the G's, by the G's, que pasa en el terreno. Vienen jugadores y se van, traiga lo nuevo. A huevo. Doesn't matter where you from. Salvador, Mexico, Honduras, Nicaragua. Todo mi latino, come and listen for an hour. TikTok, que traemos lo que quiere. Todo lo que pasa dentro y fuera de las redes. Really? You don't know what it is. Reportamos con la lupa what we see at the digs. En las buenas y en las malas yo diré la verdad. Si cometen un error o tienen habilidad, la calidad del rival cuando viene a jugar. Facts. Yo no me muerdo la lengua. Got love for the crest in the city I came from. Los campeones de campeones y con copas mi race. No empezamos el programa, soy la voz de LA One. Soy la voz de LA One. Love. Yeah.
Hello, hola, and buenas, and welcome back to another episode of La Cuna Galaxiana, a podcast always made with love for all you LA Galaxy fans and all you MLS fans out there. Today, we all need a little love because it's Welcome to Sad Fool Hours Part 2, as the LA Galaxy has now lost 2 matches in a row to start the season. LA took their act on the road against the Vancouver Whitecaps in an effort to right that season. Instead, they only found a 2-1 loss, and worse yet, had several key injuries occur during the match ahead of the Champions Cup, one of which could be a long-term absence to new signing Lucas Sanabria, who took several crunching challenges in that match, and what could lead to be a fractured collarbone injury will react to an even worse match overall than opening day due to the injuries incurred, why the Galaxy conceded early and late, how they can get through this tough moment and look ahead to the Galaxy's trip to Costa Rica, plus the calls for John McCarthy grow even louder, all of that and more coming up on today's episode. But before we get into everything, let me introduce my co-host, El Yerno Guapo, El Gitano Perdido, still celebrating his birthday because I believe in celebrating that birthday month. Anandita Kirana, ¿qué pasó, papá?
Oh, man, just sad few hours indeed. Like I said, it's tonight we're dropping the group therapy session, group therapy, I guess, whatever you want to call it, studio sessions, volume 2 would be today and 2 weeks into the season. So that is not a good look whatsoever. Of course, we were at the Blue, White, and Gold enjoying, or maybe not so much enjoying watching this game. But really quick, just shout out to everyone that we talked to, we hugged, we shook hands and conversed with at the Blue, White, and Gold. Super, super fun event. And it was really, really good to see everyone. But yeah, very, very little for LA Galaxy fans there, Rob, to cheer about. Only one moment of really just a loud burst of excitement, right? But other than that, there was nothing to write home about, man. It was just an overall very, very dead game. But I think for me, like, let's just jump right into this, Papa, the one-word match reaction. I mean, for me, it was this one was a little bit more, and I'll use this word, and hopefully this is going to be one of the last times, but I have a feeling it won't be. This is a deflating loss, man. That's how I felt walking out of the Blue, White, and Gold, walking out of Common Space Brewery. I felt a little bit deflated just with everything that happened in that game, right? Like, we couldn't have had a worse set of cards dealt to us than we experienced in that one 90-minute plus 9 minutes of injury time alone, right? Oof, injury is a bad word. Probably shouldn't use that at the moment. That is not the apropos word.
Call the ambulance. Exactly.
But this is, for me, it was you can call it demoralizing, you can call it deflated. I just felt just deflated. Just, I was like, even when we were getting tacos after the match, and we were just like, we didn't really want to talk about the game, right? Like, we were just deflated. We're like, all right, let's just leave this to sad few hours tomorrow. I'm sure we got a lot to talk about. I need to digest this while I digest the tacos. So
it didn't deserve to relive the hurt right there in the moment for darn sure, especially when you're enjoying some tacos árabes. hello to the chat. Thank you guys for being here with us. Saludos de Canadá. Oh, it's Chris. Travel safely home.
Yeah,
And Scott, the one and only. What's good with y'all? Everyone that's in chat, thank you so much for being here with us. I forgot to introduce myself at the top of the show. Rob Halone here. Hello. One of your co-hosts. Find my written work at the Sporting Tribune and Extra Time Talk. And of course, my tag is there. Also today, Sadfu, because it wasn't a fantastic match by any means. My one word match reaction is expected, because we did talk about it with Kevin Baxter and how we were calling my head pick was a Galaxy loss, and it was exactly what K-Back said, a 2-1 loss.
It was all of ours. Yeah.
And yeah, so it was expected, but not at all less disappointing for it being expected.
You know what's annoying though, and we'll get to it later in a minute, but we
Get
could have
it.
gone that we could have gone out
Stop out their way.
we could have gone out of there with a point, right? Like there was a chance to get out of there with a point and be done with it. But again,
how many times did I say that?
We'll get into that
1-1?
later. Yeah. We'll get into that later for sure. But yeah, definitely, guys, if you have a word that you want to share with us with your reaction to this match, go ahead and do that. But Rob, before we go, per the usual, let me get my housekeeping out of the way, because we got a lot of sad foods to cater to today, and we just want to hopefully brighten your beginnings of your week as much.
I
as
want all you
here.
sad fools to pop off and chat. I mean, hey, we're going through it just like you guys are, and I'm sure the team's going through it too. Like I said, we'll get to it all.
Yeah, for sure. But of course, guys, as I always say here, you can always follow me, block me, or stalk me at Ananda Galaxiana. Our tags are there on the screen if you're watching this live on YouTube. And if you are watching this live on YouTube or listening to this on playback the next day or the days after, really, first of all, thank you so much for getting us to 500 subs, right? We are on the march to 600, guys. Hopefully, we'll get there by April. So help us get there. By the month of April, that would be awesome. And yeah, if you have not yet, I know a third of you guys that listen to this pod have not subscribed to the show. And if you do like
33%,
guys, go ahead and good math there, Baba. Go ahead and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button and hit that notification bell so that when we go on live. But if you want to catch Rob and I, we are on a pretty consistent schedule. You can catch the main pod of this show on Mondays and Thursdays at 9 p.m. But if you want to see what else we're up to with maybe some surprise shows or Los Catacticos, some added shows, hit that notification bell. You'll let us, we'll know when we're on. What are you laughing at now?
Yo, Leo has me going in chat right now. We used all la buena suerte last year. I'm gonna have to hit Costco for the jumbo bag of sacrificial chicken nuggets. I love
always with the food. Always with the food, right? Always with the food.
Luckily today I had a little supper before we jumped on. I made that beef stew, man. So
nice.
Fed but sad because we got to cover this match. But thank you to all you guys. Like I said, Ananda was like, hey, we're on the march to 600. You guys got us over 5. Keep y'all doing your thing, man. 33%. We want to make that like 50%, but we love all you guys that are here riding with us since day one. Mucho amor.
Actually, we don't want to make it 50%. We want to get 15%, right? Because of the people that haven't subbed yet. So
I don't know my maths.
2/3 of you guys are definitely obviously showing the support. But no, guys, like seriously, like just really thank you again. Every time I think about the journey we've been on, it's pretty nuts to think about. So really, really appreciate it.
Can we just reminisce today instead of like talking of the match? Is that on the cards?
I mean, you could do whatever you want, but whatever floats your boat, whatever.
Like whenever you bring up a point, I'm just like, remember when?
Yeah, Michael Jackson status. Do you remember the time exactly?
Ooh, that's a banger right there.
That is a banger. But before we go on, como siempre, antes de olvidarme, buenos días, tardes o noches. Y bienvenidos a otro capítulo de La Cuna Galaxiana. Like I said, this is volume 2 of group therapy sessions, sad foo hours. Let's get it, man. Let's get it.
Yeah, I don't know if Ananda, maybe I might have missed this one because I was laughing at what Leo was saying about the sacrificial chicken nuggets. But did you mention that we have super chats now available?
That's all you, Baba. That's all you, Baba.
Oh, guys, we have super chats now available. If you guys didn't know, but yeah, we're setting a goal of 6 every show. That way we can represent the 6 MLS Cups the Galaxy have up to this point. And you know what? All I got to say is that I'm going to quote Chris Tucker here, aka Zero Cool. He said, still champions, all year. That's Galaxy can claim that all year.
I'm gonna cling to that all year because it looks like I'm gonna have to. It looks like I'm gonna have to cling to that.
En las buenas, en las malas.
That's right. Exactly. Shout out. That's what I told Arquitecto yesterday. Shout out Arquitecto. That's exactly what I told him yesterday, Babas. So hey, I'm gonna cling to that for sure.
Well, guys, if you need a little bit more context or detail on maybe why this Galaxy team is sputtering, go ahead and check out episode 5 of Los Galacticos, which is titled LA Galaxy's Midfield Mystery. Ooh, that is the best or really worst or saddest Scooby-Doo episode that I've ever heard. But anyway, mystery. It is a mystery right now, and it's gonna be even more of a conundrum for Greg, and we'll tell you why in a little bit. But yeah, guys, check this out. El Profe Alex Ruiz was on this one with Ananda here, and they're always fire. So go ahead and check them out. A really detailed analysis of what exactly is going on in the middle of the park for the Galaxy. And before we get into the game, unfortunately, yes, we're gonna get into the game. We want to wish new Galaxy signing Mateus Nascimento a happy birthday. Here he is in his Horizon kit. So new, in fact, that they did not have any game action shots of Nascimento. Hopefully he recovers quickly, and happy birthday to him. And he makes that debut quickly. That would be wonderful, right? LA Galaxy Kings Night is coming up. That'll be on Tuesday, March 11th. They are playing the New York Islanders that night, and tickets start at $29. I believe tickets are still available for this one. Everyone that's there, behave. And one of my favorite parts about this night is the Galaxy fans cheer for the Kings and for the Galaxy, and people around them really, really don't like it. I guess chanting is not a thing in hockey, even though I thought it was. But anyway, go ahead and show out for the Galaxy and Galaxy community. Baddies Night or Baddies Day, I guess, is back. Every year, Lars does a woman-led game day experience, and that includes the ladies leading in the capital box. This is going to be the 4th year that they've done this, and it's happening during the home game on 3/9. And if you guys are digging this shirt, of course, this one was done by Miss Yellow, who continues to impress. I mean, getting prized up by this numerous city councils and doing talks all around Los Angeles about spreading art and the importance of art. And here you see some of her said art. I mean, this is pretty much a love letter to Los Angeles, man. I love this. This is an instant cop. Shout out to Miss Yellow on this one, and shout out to Baddies Night, which is back. I mean, it's not really a nighttime game, but you guys know what I mean. At that game, Harry Mack, MC, which I really enjoy. He's going to be doing the pregame performance. Ananda, I've made Ananda listen to many a Harry Mack song in my car, so this one's dope. He's going to be one that I'm definitely checking out, guys, and I believe this is I keep on saying before this match, and this is the match against St. Louis on 3/9. So go ahead and get there early.
Yeah. This is gonna be a little different too. It's gonna be less of like unts. I mean, Harry Mack's got bars for days. So if you guys like your hip hop, this is the man right here.
Oh yeah, for sure. I love his videos where like they just throw out random words at him and he just like keeps the flow going and it's smart, elevated rhymes, bars, and hopefully you guys enjoy it. But I know I am. And then we'll close out here our announcement section. In support of the Podfather, Josh Guessman, y'all know him, y'all love him. He does so much for this community, including keeping y'all informed, lighting the way for all the podcasts that come in the Galaxy sphere, being that gold standard, and really, I've never really seen him ask for anything, and this time, he's putting out the call. He needs your support at the Train Club. He says, we donate so much of our time to special groups and events that we'd love to have your participation in the 40th anniversary fundraiser. And this is in celebration of 40 years of OCME. help this nonprofit, guys. Keep their trains rolling by donating to their 40K for 40 years campaign. Your support keeps their track, engines, and cars running while providing free train rides and tours for so many. Guys, if you guys know Josh Gutsman, you guys know that he loves the LA Galaxy and he loves trains. And I mean, I can think of no better way to help him than getting out there and helping the OCME and doing what you can, donating a shekel here or there. But anyway, support the Podfather. Like I said, he never asked for anything, and he put out a special call for this one. And I know the man loves his trains. Like literally, Ananda, now when I see a train, I think of the Podfather. So, anyway, support the Podfather. Get out there. Yeah. Ananda, I know you're going to love this one because every time I bring this one up, you just get a look on your face like, God damn it, this again. So the Ronaldo rumors to the Galaxy are back, and every time they come up, there's like a little level of intensity. It's usually not as pronounced as it is at the moment. Reports, and really none that I've seen that are too reputable, or if they are, apologies to you if you're like a transfer break or anything like that. But reports claim that the LA Galaxy have been mentioned as a potential destination of Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, that could mean anything. Bermuda could be a potential destination for Ronaldo on vacation. Like this is super vague. But anyway, accounts have picked this up and ran with it. So Ronaldo's contract expires with Al Nassr in June 2025. And like I said, a bunch of accounts have ran with this. I brought it up to you because every time I do, you get kind of like this annoyed look on your face, like, damn it, this is not going to happen. Can we just put this one to bed? Let me get your thoughts on this one again, just because I want to be petty.
Not a fan. Like, super simple. I mean, let's put it this way: if fans are reacting the way there, if fans are reacting the way they are to Marco Reus right now, I can't imagine what a couple of performances from Ronaldo would do to the fan. I mean, it's just I don't want to be there. I don't want to see that. I think we're a little bit past that. And yeah, like I said, like I'm seeing the vitriol right now for Marco Reus. So, I think we're kind of past this era of the Galaxy. I mean, it would be a nice story, but that's probably all it is. It'd be fun for you guys to cover. That's for darn sure.
Oh, it'd be so fun for us to cover, especially when he's walking into the pressers with like 6 security guards and stuff like that. But
now,
no, I mean,
but see, like KDB on the other hand, okay, I'll think about it. Wait.
You really think KDB has more to give than Ronaldo? I mean, the guy's still banging in goals. I mean, granted, it is no shade to Saudi Arabia. Granted, it isn't Saudi Arabia, but the man keeps himself in peak condition while KDB has had multiple injuries. And I've seen him play recently for City, and it looks like those legs aren't as good as they used to be. So you honestly think KDB has more to give than Ronaldo? Not saying that I want this to happen. I don't. Neither do I think the Galaxy have the mechanisms to pull it off, or the money to pull it off, or should upset the dressing room, I guess harmony or whatever it is at the moment. Yeah. However, I got to push back on this one. I think Ronaldo has more in his locker still than KDB.
I think in the MLS, look what Zaha's doing right now. And Zaha's about the same age as KDB, right? And I mean, KDB has a killer final ball.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. Zaha's like 32, 33, Pops.
Really?
Yeah.
Somebody fact check that
I'm going to look this up right now. Anyways, keep going because this is a non-starter. Let's just keep going.
Yeah, you're right. He's 32.
KDB's 33.
Okay. See, I see Zaha always as that promising Manchester United youngster that never made it. Thank you, David Moyes. Hey, greetings, Mo Football Man, from St. Louis, popping into the chat. Thank you.
Really quick. Leo says that super chat isn't working. Leo, maybe try it again. I tried it on my end. Of course, I can't really. I mean, I can't. We can't pay ourselves on this show, maybe, but try it again. If not, no worries. I'll figure it out after the show. But thanks for your support, anyways. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, Leo, thank you so much. Thank you for letting us know. Well, anyway, I just thought it was funny because you get so annoyed whenever I bring this particular rumor up.
I think we're just past that as an organization. I feel like I think Marco Reus was one. I mean, even last year, Will Kuhn said it was one of those things where he felt like we were on that championship run, and he took a gamble, and man, it paid off, obviously, right? So, not saying that we wouldn't have won I don't know, right? Like, remember Marco Royce had that free kick for the second goal against Minnesota. I mean, he had his moments, but it is what
Alrighty.
it is.
Well, Galaxy fans in the chat seem to not be about it either. Like I said, I don't think it happens
Good.
for a bunch of reasons. Money. Do they have the spaces international?
You know how bad that topic is? I'd rather talk about the match than Cristiano Ronaldo.
Jesus. Well, Ananda called it. I guess we're getting into it. The Galaxy continued their MLS Cup. Sorry, not MLS Cup. Dang.
I wish.
Hopefully, right?
You really reminiscing there.
Man, I went back. Leo says this is a test of the sad foo hour. Thank you for your super chat.
That's a smaller chata for Rob right there.
Yeah, and you know what? I know he's taken away from those sacrificial chicken nugget fund, man. So that means even more.
Scott just took away from his own sacrificial nugget fund. Scott, for the almost coffee fund, love the show. Scott, we appreciate it, man. Just of course, hopefully you're doing well and you're recovering well, and yeah, Godspeed, my friend.
Well, guys, not MLS Cup. I was reminiscing, continuing their MLS Cup. I did it again. See, man, so much hope and longing in me. Continuing the campaign, their MLS campaign, the Galaxy fell 2-1 on the road to Vancouver. 2 games, 2 losses. Gabriel Peck did give the Galaxy a little bit of hope, scoring his and the Galaxy's first goal of the year off of a great Miguel Berry hustle play, putting his body on the line. He somehow got the ball to Peck for the Brazilian to score. That's now in 40 starts for Gabriel Peck. He's 39 goal contributions, 22 and 17 for him. The loss leaves the Galaxy winless on the campaign. They've lost their first 2 matches only twice before in their history, 2001 and 2017. Of course, in 2017, they won the wooden spoon and missed the playoffs. Eesh. Hopefully, we're not talking about that kind of season this year. The Galaxy lost 2 matches in a row for the first time since October 7th, 2023.
Yeah, there goes that streak.
Yep, there goes that streak too. And this match was the 38th between Galaxy and Whitecaps. The Galaxy hold the edge 17-13-7. They hold a 16-12-7 record in league play against the Whitecaps. And in 17 matches played on the road against Vancouver, they hold a 5-8-4 record. 2 players made their debut for the club in this match against Vancouver. Zonka started and played 90 minutes against Vancouver. And Harbor Miller, who we saw in the CVI last year, made his MLS and LA Galaxy debut. And as a second half substitution, he is the 19th LA Galaxy Academy player in club history to appear in a regular season match for the Galaxy. The Fullerton, California native is the 4th youngest player to make their debut for the Galaxy as well. 17 years, 8 months, and 11 days. And then also, Isaiah Parente made his first appearance in 2025. He played 15 minutes in the loss. Ananda, let's go ahead and look at this lineup here. But before we do, Zippers Forever hooking us up with the super chat. Thank you so much. The fact that we have a team that can't find Marco or play without Ricky says more about the team than Marco or Ricky. Ooh, interesting. Yeah, I mean, we already know that midfield is having a tough time linking play, being positionally where they need to be. So it stands to reason that they're having a hard time finding Marco, who is not that kind of player that Ricky was. That's going to drop deep to get the ball. He's just not. So
that also says a lot about Mark Delgado, doesn't it? And Gaston, right? Unfortunately. I'm telling you, man, it's we cover it in that a little bit in that Los Galácticos episode, man.
Cute dog, by the way, Zippers.
We definitely lost quite a bit, but yeah, really interesting point, man. Good point.
Yeah, no, it's a really great point. I mean, you guys, I'm sure, cover it more in Los Galácticos, but this midfield needs to find a way to connect this team. They're Greg said it in the first match, disconnected and disjointed, and we'll get into a little bit more about that. But Nanda, looking at this starting lineup, Did you see anything that you were about? I mean, the Galaxy are playing that Christmas tree, man. Galaxy fans were hoping that it was Christmas to get 3 points, but it was not to be. Tell me about this lineup. What'd you see?
I think a couple interesting selections. I'm gonna leave you with the selections piece of it, and I'll just talk about the formation, because the first thing when I pulled this up on MLS, this is by the way off the MLS website, guys. I thought it was a little interesting that they kind of had it this way. What I saw was defending wise, typical 4-4-2. That's typically the way we defend. With either, in this case, it was Sanabria as the other sort of pressing. Greg likes that system. It's pretty defensively sound. But on the build-up, Rob, what I saw more of was slightly more typical, traditional to the 4-3-3, but really it was like a 4-2-4. They really used Winder and Cerrillo as that double pivot, and we pushed up Sanabria up to the right side with Gabriel Peck to create that overload, to create that 2v1 or 3v2 if the right back joins the attack. But in this case, not really, right? Because it's Emilio Garces. So he really tried to push Sanabria up to that right side to create that overload. Or sometimes when Nelson would push up, Rob, and we try to exploit the left, which in this game, surprisingly, we tried to go down the left side a little bit more. It was a little bit more of a 3-2-5, but the thing that was constant or consistent was that double pivot in midfield. That seemed pretty locked in, where usually Cerrillo is the lone six, right? So I think that's kind of how it worked in practice. I think it was interesting given Greg's selection and then how that manifests itself in the game, right? Not starting Royce and putting in a guy like Winder. Baxter talked about it. I followed up Baxter's sort of premonition or predisposition around that idea, because I did like it, especially if you think about the turf, right? And fixture congestion and having the travel, etc. I'm actually surprised that, based off of what Kevin said, because I think he brought up a great point, and just wrap him up in cotton wool, right? And keep him at home. But I'm surprised that Marco actually made the trip. So yeah, I think that was more the interesting thing with the lineup for me, is about just how it was deployed and how Greg tried to tweak the system just a little bit, given his personnel and probably where we were playing in the opposition as well.
Well, yeah, he's forced into this lineup largely. Garces is pinned on the right. Obviously, Mickey Yamane is not available. Felt a little something before the match, and I believe the last training day, Greg said, and Elijah Winder comes in, and Miguel Berry come in as well. But we spoke to Kevin about this, and obviously the Galaxy have a Champions Cup match on Wednesday, so there was going to be some rotation. Miguel Berry's a little younger than Christian Ramirez, so he gets to start. And like you said, it's very, very telling that the Galaxy decide to use Marco Royce in this match, even though they have that upcoming trip against Costa Rica. I think Greg definitely felt that there was something there that they could take from this game, so he uses them. But also, I think it's Royce trying to play himself fit. I mean, he's played a couple of matches now, and you got to get that rhythm in. So I think he's trying to get that rhythm in, even though it is on turf. Like we said, Zonka makes his debut. Largely had a pretty good game, except for one moment, which we'll talk about. And then for me, Lucas Sanabria, it's still learning this system. I mean, he was better. There were moments where he combined pretty decently with Gabriel Peck over there on the right, but I don't think that he's got it all yet, and now it's going to be even harder for him. Collarbone, dang, we'll get it there. But anyway, Ananda, for you, and we'll ask the chat as well, guys. First game against San Diego, Greg puts out one lineup that includes Marco Royce and Christian Ramirez, Mickey Yamane as well. No Zonka in that lineup. Second game, this is the lineup that you're seeing. For you guys there in the chat, and for my co-host, did the Galaxy look better with this lineup or with the lineup on opening day? What do you think?
I think after all said and done, it's probably the same. Like the same in terms of, I guess, it being not that effective, right? I mean, obviously, it shows in the scoreline. I think there were spurts, Rob, that it did look better, and I think it's because of the skill sets of what some of these guys bring, like Winder, for example. We started figuring out, especially in the latter parts of this first half leading up to the goal, we started figuring out that the out ball was sort of that that looping ball over the top to hit Diego in space, or in the lead up to the goal, right? Winder was the one that made that channel run into space, and he was the one that created the chance. That's what led into Barry and eventually the goal. So I think in spurts, yes, but I think overall, probably not, right? And that probably reflected itself in the stats, which we'll get into in the scoreline. So I don't think it's well, I was about to say I don't think it's a personnel issue, but I think it is a little bit. And then obviously it's just more like chemistry. It's just the system not functioning the way it's supposed to. And yeah, maybe that's why I paused for a second, because I was like, yeah, maybe. I mean, clearly, if you don't have your two DPs, I mean, Josh tweeted about this today, which I 100% agree with.
Absolutely.
Any team,
I know where you're going.
Any team that does not have two of their DPs, you take out, I don't know, Messi and another DP from Miami. You take out Jordan Morris and like any team in this league that does not have their two DPs, arguably their best DP and Ricky Puig, and the guy, and I've been telling you this, Rob, and now you're starting to see my point around Ricky is the midfield engine. He is the heart and soul of this team, right? He's the talisman.
I never disagreed with you.
Well, I think we had this debate when we were talking about Gabriel Peck and Ricky. So yeah, man, we see now sort of his imprints of the game, right? And how he affects the game just single-handedly. And yeah, man, it's any team in this league, given the salary cap constraints, and then you pile on injuries and all the departures and all that stuff. It's really tough, man. So that's why, like, overall, like I'm kind of even keel about this. Absolutely, I'm disappointed. We'll get to the debate a little bit later, but I'm pretty even keel about this because I think this matches my expectations, and even coming into the season, right? Given where we are roster wise.
Ooh, yeah. Where we are roster wise is not great. Studio says, what's the word on Cuevas? Hamstring, not looking great. It's not short term anyway.
Yeah,
so
I think
not having him as an option.
I think there's media availability tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
Robert. So maybe you guys will get some more info then.
Yeah, I mean, Greg's already kind of told us, that it's a hamstring. It's not going to be a quick thing, especially because
hamstrings are never quick.
They're never quick, and they what would you rather have him, missing on 3 or 4 games, or being in and out of the lineup constantly, not being able to be depended on? I know which way I would go, but I mean, he's a young player. Hopefully, he'll bounce back quick. The other thing about this lineup is, we saw a bunch of calls in the aftermath. I mean, we were at the Blue, White, and Gold pop-up. A shout out to 12 Threads for always putting on an amazing event. There's mass G's out there. Just tons and tons of G's out there watching this game at Common Space there in Hawthorne. And we were sitting by some cats that at the end of the game, or not even at the end of the game, several times during the game, I mean, they went on anti-Micovic rants. And I mean, I don't share the bulk of their harsh words, but there are definitely calls for McCarthy to be the starter. However, I think it's a little too early to pass judgment. There's only been 2 games. He's a young keeper, but one of the things that Ananda brought up that Micovic brings to the table over McCarthy is cutting out those crosses through the middle, right? And we almost saw him cut out this cross for Vancouver's first goal, with Pedro Vita getting to the touchline, and he sends this ball across. Samuel Adekugbe, he was the first to the loose ball, and he puts it away really, really early in the 3rd minute, and that just kind of set the tone. Ananda, but what do you think? For everything that you've heard, everything that you've seen, for you, is it too early to pass that judgment on Micovic?
Yeah, I think it'd be harsh, but then I thought it was harsh to not start McCarthy this season, right? So it's like it's one of those things, and I mean, yeah, but with Micovic for right now, it would be harsh, but I mean, this isn't a good look yet, right? I mean, I've heard I can't remember where I heard it, but like some folks were comparing this to like I think it might have been Eddie or Bryant when we had them on that pod that we did right before the home opener, which is the comparison to Jonathan Bond, right? And where he has some really good attributes, makes some great stops, but overall he doesn't win you enough games, if that makes sense, right? Like he either doesn't make the right decision at key moments, or there's a lapse in judgment. Whereas McCarthy, I mean, he won us MLS Cup. So, but I guess that's to be expected for a young keeper, right? So you have to give him time. But then it's like, with all the things that are happening around this team right now, how much time are Galaxy fans going to give him? And that's going to be the interesting part.
They already haven't given him
some
time.
some aren't. Yeah.
I mean, good friend of the show, Mike Gray says, spoiler alert, J Mac in the lineup isn't changing the results. He also said, why are we scrutinizing a rookie goalkeeper so harshly? I don't know if he's a rookie goalkeeper per se. I mean, he has been on the team and he did get a couple of games last year. But, I mean, Celentano is a very young keeper. I believe he was a rookie, and I think he won the Gold Gloves, or was in the finals for the Gold Gloves that year. So, I mean, I don't think it has so much to do with age. Just I think they're just not on the same page, really.
Yeah, especially for that second goal, right?
Oh, for that second goal, for darn sure. We're gonna get there. I don't know. It remains to be seen if J-Mac being in the lineup is changing the results. I mean, there's a lot of soft skills that you've talked about, Ananda, that go into being a keeper. Greg said it's really difficult being a keeper on this team.
I would argue that, you know, we would have, again, hindsight's always 2020. It's weird to talk about stuff like in hindsight, but I'm not sure he gives up that first goal, right? At home in San Diego. I mean, J-Mac's always been a guy, when in doubt, kick it out, right?
Kick it out.
It's into Rosie. So yeah, man, tough one there, but yeah, I think we got to give him time. Like I said, I think, look, here's all I'll say about this is if Greg and the coaches and everyone believes in Micovic, double down.
Than us.
Well, just double down on it, right? Don't go like Gray, like really go double down on it and really believe in him, because as soon as you create a little bit of doubt, it's not good for the keeper's confidence, right? And goalkeepers, I mean, look, this is a confidence game anyways, but especially goalkeepers and strikers, man, they need a lot of confidence to play. So
yeah, well, I agree with you. You can't disrupt this again, I'm not going to call him a rookie keeper, but I'm going to call him a young keeper and shake his confidence by hanging him out to dry in the gray area. And so far, the Galaxy have done pretty well about, kind of protecting him that way. But they do go down early in this one. It's kind of one of those moments where you wonder where the breakdown is. Well, we'll debate that here in a second, but the Galaxy do go down 1-0 in the third minute. Pedro Vita, my countryman, is playing his face off right now for Vancouver. XPH with the $29 super chat. Man, that's super love, man. Buenas noches, LCG crew. Do I misremember, or didn't McCarthy have a rough start last year? Wasn't he at fault for back-to-back goals versus St. Louis in the 3-3 tie? No me acuerdo. I don't remember.
Didn't McCarthy have a rough start? He was. There was one
I believe, right?
There was it SKC? Was it SKC? Might have been SKC when we went down the first two goals. I think you're right. It might have been the 3-3. I think he gave up a soft goal. It was more of like a commanding, like something happened in the box and he didn't grab it. I gotta look, but yeah, Zipper says yes, he was as well. Yeah, I seem to recall that earlier on the season, but he got it right, like towards the middle end of the part. I feel like the last mistake he made that I vividly remember before we went on that cup run and towards the end of the season was that Leagues Cup, Rob, at Seattle, when he, basically fluffed his lines on two corners by Rusnak. And that was it. That was all she wrote.
Ooh, very reminiscent of what happens for the second goal. But before the second goal for Vancouver, there was a first goal for the Galaxy in the 39th minute. Like I mentioned earlier, Miguel Berry hustles his butt off on this one. Props to him for all the shtick he takes and for all the soundberries and all that. I mean, this man works his tail off for the Crest. We've had folks in chat say that they've met him and that he really loves the team, and you can see it in at least the way that he works for the team. Right, he was the first to get to the ball near the end line, and then he finds Gabby Peck in the middle of the penalty area. Having the patience that Gabriel Peck does on this one, right? Not to like panic, just having the patience to take that touch and go near post and tie up the scores. Like I mentioned, we were at Common Space and the place erupted. It was, I mean,
Even our dogs were excited.
Yeah, even the dogs were excited. Kobe and Natita were out there with us too. But, they hadn't scored in the last game of the CVI, the 30 minutes before that, then at the home opener. And this was the first goal almost a full half into this match. And did Galaxy fans need something to cheer about? I mean, it wasn't as beer flying as at the digs, but people, I guess, didn't want to make a mess at Common Space, so good on them. But there was a noticeable pop. Man, it went off when they scored. So Galaxy have a little bit of life in them. They're cruising at 1-1. It's about the 85th minute, and I keep on telling Ananda, Galaxy are going to be just fine with that point. I mean, this is a well-earned point. And before I really get done saying it for the last time, it's literally hanging in my mouth. And Pedrovite, and swinging cross from the right-hand side, finds Brian White. And Brian White doesn't even power home the header. It's kind of like a soft dink of a header, and he knocks it in at the back post. The reason this one pisses me off is because Vancouver had tried this play at least 5 or 6 times during this match, and they had cut it out every single time. And then right at the last moment, in the 87th minute, they go ahead and give this one up. I mean, they knew what the game plan was. They knew that Pedro Vita was putting in this in-swing crosses to the back post. They deal with it, I believe, 5 or 6 times. They don't deal with it this time, and they give up at least a point. Even if we can't claim that the Galaxy were on the front foot, they definitely could have gotten out of there with a point. So when we see this, Ananda, this in-swinging ball, difficult to deal with for a keeper or judge. And so this one is kind of like in that gray area. Who's at fault for this one, right? I believe you have some footage on this.
I was gonna say let's let the chat. Let's the court of public opinion, right, Rob? Let's leave it for the people, and you guys be the judge. I'm gonna replay it right here. So there's the in-swinging cross, and bam. What do you think, man? Well, I'll play it for as many times as you want, but I will pause it in 2 certain moments to sort of
play it again.
My opinion on. Do you want me to play it again, or you want to pause it in a certain moment? Let me know when to pause it.
Pause it right around there. Well, okay. I think we can see very clearly what's going on here. And I'll just let the man speak for himself. Zonka said post game, I've kind of take that one. I feel like I should have been in a better position to clear that ball. And so it's definitely with the heavy heart sitting here, because other than that, the game was all right from a personal standpoint. A point here would have meant a lot. He's right. He has to kind of take this one because he doesn't go up for this ball. And it's not like White has that much vertical on him. I mean, he's standing. And I mean, if he goes up for this ball and tries to challenge this ball, I bet he's getting this. So for me, Zonka's right on here. He takes it, he puts it in his hand very responsibly as an experienced player, and he's like, hey, this is me. I think he's right. But chat, let us know what you think. Mike Gray says he watched it 100 times, and it's Zonka's fault. I gotta agree. I mean, Zonka says as much. Ananda, what are you thinking?
Well, I like this point.
Oh, hold on, time out. I do gotta say though, in real time when we saw it at the match, I thought it was Micovic, and I did 100%. Say to Ananda,
yeah.
I did say to Ananda, no, he's got to come out and claim this, right? But the fact that he doesn't, and then Zonka kind of watches it, kind of puts it on him at this point. But I did say in real time that Zonka has that Micovic has to come out and claim this. Go ahead. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Well, no, XPH brings up a really good point, and I kind of want to pause it at this. I would say this frame here, right? So ball's going out. I mean, Diego, could he done a better job? Sure. I mean, you're towards the end of the game, so but I'll let that one slide, because look, Rob, in theory, I'm assuming Greg is going to look at this and say, okay, it's 3v3 within the box, right? Now, I think we have to give a lot of credit to Pedro Vite, because that is a sweet ball with his left foot. It's usually the in-swinging crosses that are flat and have velocity, have pace on them, are super hard to judge, right? But look at where it's 3v3 in the box. So you're liking the Galaxy's chances of clearing this, right? Number one. Number two, Zonka is parallel with White right there, and he just loses complete track of him. But here's the other thing, and this is why I think there is a little bit to say for Micovic as well. Number one, if you guys notice, I'll play the clip from start to finish again. If you notice, Rob, throughout this whole play, Micovic is not communicating once with his back line. Look at him; he's just staring at the ball, right? Not communicating once, and then when the quick bam play happens, right? And this is the point that I really like that XPH made, which is lack of chemistry, communication, new keeper, new defender, right? And this is one of those things where I feel like McCarthy in that situation. Okay, I've seen McCarthy make that mistake before. I can't remember the exact game. I should probably like write notes on all this stuff. I do remember that happening once, and I think we gave up a late goal, maybe towards the end of the season. I'm going to have to recall that. So I've seen McCarthy make that mistake, but I've seen him communicate quite a bit in those situations, right? So, I mean, you could play that in two different ways. The keeper, but that's the thing. Like, I haven't seen Micovic be as aggressive of a keeper in his box to have what they call a high starting position. His starting position was super low. He was in that 6-yard box, right? So, but I haven't seen a pattern of him being super high, have a high starting position to claim that cross, right? So I'm assuming that he thought that it was 3v3. I'm like, okay, my defenders got this. But in the end, again, Zonka, like you said, turned his head. And White, we got to give credit to the offense too, man. Like, really good ball in, really good delivery. And White, he's very good in the box. His movement is really good. We've seen that before. Right. We
did call him out in the preview for being one of the danger men, and he gets on the score sheet, right? I mean, he's scored a couple goals against the Galaxy already last year and the year before that, and he gets the game winner in this one. And yeah, it's unfortunate because the Galaxy, I mean, those 3 chaotic minutes at the beginning notwithstanding, I mean, they played a pretty decent game, and they
hung in there for sure.
Yeah, they hung in there. They put in a gritty performance. They even started to have some moments that they looked pretty decent in the first half. They didn't look that great in the second half, and Greg will back that up. But it just means that the Galaxy now start the season 0-2-0. They had a chance to walk out of here with the point, out of Vancouver with a point. They did not. They, didn't play the first 3 minutes or the last 3 minutes of this match. And it cost them. And not only that, it cost them more than that. It cost them injuries, and we'll talk about that in a moment. But some quick match stats from this one. This is one of the 7 matches that the Galaxy will play during the month of March. They have the MLS regular season and the CONCACAF Champions Cup to deal with during the month of March. They'll host 3 matches and have 4 road matches. One of those is all the way in Costa Rica, and we'll bring you a Champions Cup preview towards the end of this show. And they begin that Champions Cup on Wednesday against Herediano, and that first leg is at 5:30 Pacific. The second leg is next Wednesday at the Digs at 7:30. But before we get there, Ananda, there was obviously a disconnect again on this Galaxy team, and we're starting to see a team that's kind of falling into a pattern. What are you seeing in the stats that support that?
Yeah, so I will pull this up here. This is a new one for me, Rob. So again, shout out to Galaxy Comps for providing this. This is sort of the box score, I guess. So I think the big things that stood out to me, I mean, XG, Rob, we created next to nothing, 2.47 to 0.27, right? 14 shots for the Whitecaps. 6 for the Galaxy. And if I break that down even further, Vancouver had 4 shots on target, Rob, versus our 2. They had 3 big chances, and the LA Galaxy had 1. So I think, again, I'll sort of accentuate this point in a little bit. Passing, so you see it on the screen there. Passes and crosses, 521 for Vancouver Whitecaps to LA Galaxy's 501. Now, you may look at that on face value and say, yeah, that's not too bad. We were 20 passes behind, but again, as I'm going to talk about later, this isn't a good sign for an LA Galaxy that typically dominates the possession, especially with passes and touches, etc. And my stat with corners, man, six corners to 1. The team that has the most corners is the one that's probably on the front foot and really, playing in their attacking zone, right? So there's just a lot of things. And what's interesting? I saw this stat. They now have distance covered stats, Robert. And again, so this goes back to your sort of gritty, our points about hanging in there. I mean, distance covered was pretty even. So it's not like Vancouver Whitecaps outworked us, at least if you look at the total distance covered, right? I think the Galaxy hung on enough, I thought, to at least steal a point, right, away from at BC Place, but it just wasn't to be, man. But I mean, look, I think the thing that about the stats where it's really alarming is that the fact that, Rob, this is, if I look at the first two games with our stats and what they were in these categories last year, I think it's just alarming, man. It's just, and I think I have to temper that with, this is a much different team, right? So maybe as a fan, as someone watching this, as someone that covers this team sort of day in and day out, maybe I can't have those same expectations because it's different. But if I look at some of the stats from last year, man, so possession, right? With our first two games, Rob, we only had 48.5% possession. Last year, we were 57% possession. We were the top three in the league. Completed passes, we just look at the stat there just a moment ago.
Dramatically different.
We're averaging 454 completed passes this year versus 532, Rob. That was best in MLS in 2024. Here's an interesting one. So I didn't pull this up before, but in this game, Robert, and this is, I talked about this stat last time too, and this is another alarming one for me, which is Vancouver had 259 passes in our half versus the LA Galaxy only having basically half of that, 149 of our passes in Vancouver's half. So we know from that stat alone who's playing in whose half and who's on the front foot, right? This is very atypical for a Greg Vanney team that likes to possess the ball and control the game with possession, especially in the opposition half, right? So that's pretty alarming for me. Shots on target per match, Robert, last year, we were averaging 6.3 shots on target per match. That's a league high in 2024. This year, over 2 games, we've only had 2.5 shots on target per match. Ouch, not good, right? And we've only created 2 big chances in 2 matches. So I'm going to temper all that with this. Sample size is super small, guys. It's only 2 matches, so don't freak out. But the early signs are not good. And this is where I put it on the screen, man. Is it patience or panic, right? Is this one of those things where you look at this 2-game set and you say, kind of like what we talked about last time, like, is this going to be the new norm, or do we just need a little more patience to get the team settled and figure out ways, and we just have to basically play our way through this this blip that we're having, right? But me and my stats, I love my stats, and what both the underlying and sort of the top line stats are telling me is that, yes, small sample size after 2 games, but it's telling me a completely different story of what Greg Vanney's team was last year, and the personnel that we had. So yeah, I'm gonna leave that one for you guys, chat, based off of what you're feeling and seeing from your eye test. Is this patience or panic stations at the moment?
XPH says, am I naive, foolish for thinking that as bad as the Galaxy has played, both games were winnable? I don't think so. I think they were winnable. So I think as poor, well, not even poor, but like as atypical for a typical Galaxy team are showing us, I think they still could have won those games. They did have more. I mean, if it's 1-0 against San Diego and maybe a Marco Royce gets that volley that Ruben Ramos Jr. gets in the box late on in the game, maybe Galaxy walk out of there with a point. Maybe if Mickey Yamane is in the lineup and it's Maya Yoshida and Garces right there in the middle, maybe they're able to clear that Brian White goal, and they're walking out of there with a point. And 2 points out of 2 games, still not great, but it's a lot better than 0. Yeah. One thing that I noticed in this one, and onto that was kind of mystifying me, is do the Galaxy have the personnel to play out of the back at the moment, right? I mean, we saw them, especially with the disconnect that XPH was talking about with communication and stuff like that, and not knowing each other. Is it wise to be playing out of the back? Like we've mentioned, John McCarthy, when in doubt, kick it out, and that's it's better to be safe than sorry, right? Leo says we got a lot to go. We got to have patience. Yeah, you're right. It's Ananda says small sample size, 2 games only, right? But we are starting to see a trend, and yeah. I mean, hopefully that trend is broken. Hopefully things kick off on Wednesday, right? But yeah, I don't know if this team has the personnel to play out of the back at the moment, or play out of the back the way that they're playing at the moment. Ananda, is the team in crisis or panic mode? I don't think yet. It's only 2 games. You really gotta have a larger sample size, as you've been saying. But there are signs there that they gotta fix. There are consistencies that are happening on the field that they have to go away from. So that's the only thing I have to say about that.
Yeah, but I'm going to pull up the March schedule. And again, I'm going to leave this one to chat and we'll sort of move on to the next thing. But guys, this is you look at the schedule, right? I pulled up the schedule here for the rest of March and April. I mean, there's some, if you look at those matches or those fixtures, they don't look as easy as we thought, right? Like maybe if you looked at it from the beginning of the season, I mean, of course, we play Herediano away and home leg in the next week. St. Louis at home, that's not going to be an easy fixture, Rob. Yes, it's at home, but especially with all our injuries and the way we're playing, that's not easy. Portland is never easy on the road. Minnesota, we just played them in the playoffs last year. That is a tough place to play. And then Orlando, right, at home. And that's just
right now too.
That's just March alone. And then you look at April, you go to Salt Lake away. Again, not a fun hunting ground, at least. I mean, last year we did all right there, but typically not fun. Houston is going to be interesting because Houston has been kind of struggling this year as well. Going away to Austin, we don't want to remember that trip last year, Rob, but we remember how that ended last year. And then home again at Portland. And this is one of those things I always remember Josh like talking about, depending on how the team plays, certain games will look easy, but then if you play crap, these games look a lot harder on paper, right? And it's just one of those things, but it's like, all right, guys, like when is this going to be like panic stations all over again? And I'm just going to leave you guys with this, right? Maybe I'm going to end this with a positive, Rob, and try to G us up a little bit. But last year, Rob, Seattle started with 2 points in their first 5 games and only 9 points in their first 10. So they struggled last year out the gates, and we knew that, but they had a big surge towards the middle and the end. And I said coming into the season, I had a feeling that we were going to struggle in the beginning, middle parts of the season until we get our guys back, until the team gels, and then we hit that run in sort of the later stages, especially as Ricky comes back. So I'm hoping that's what happens, but guys, it's really, really tough now going through this phase.
Cresswell says this is going to be one of the best comeback stories for the next onside season. I really hope that's the case. I can't wait for year 2 of onside if that is the case. But we did have an opportunity to talk to Greg about this performance post game, and for everybody that's panicking, it doesn't sound like Greg is panicking. I mean, it sounds like they've largely identified the problems and are working to fix them. Ananda, roll that clip.
Got a little bit more into our groove and got our setup a little bit clearer and cleaner. We were doing a good job of getting to one side and getting off the other side, and I felt like we were, as we got into the last 20 minutes or so of the first half, don't quote me on the exact minutes, but I really felt like we were starting to find the right solutions to the game and how to build through them and how to switch the play, and we were giving ourselves some good looking attacks, obviously one of which leads to a goal. Then we get to halftime. They adjust the defensive posture. They start dropping a winger with our fullback who's going high. We have to take a Miro off, given our personalities. Again, a little bit and where players were, like with John over on the right. The solutions that I would prefer for that weren't really there for us, given kind of personnel in some ways. And I felt like we didn't settle into the second half and solve the issues of how they were organizing their press against us. We didn't manage time well, and we didn't get into good spots for each other. And as I said to the guys at the end, I think we need to recognize we're on the road. We've had some tough circumstances with personnel. We need to do a little better job of just making game management decisions, shifting the field so that we're playing in their.
So y'all heard Greg Vanney on this one. It's interesting that he ends on personnel, Nanda, and that's you mentioned it. I mean, it's a sick ward there at the Galaxy right now, already without 2 DPs, which you talked about. Studio mentioned Cuevas. We gave you an update on that one. We'll get a little bit more context tomorrow at media availability. New signing, the birthday boy, Nascimento, has a thigh issue, so he's out. We already mentioned Mickey Yamane not being available for this one. And then during the match, Garces pulled up with a calf issue. Greg said it wasn't serious. It just felt like a rock, he said, because of he was having a tough time gripping on the turf. And the really, really tough one to take is Sanabria, who suffers a fractured collarbone or a suspected fractured collarbone, which is usually a long-term injury. I believe Leo told us on Twitter yesterday that he had a similar problem, and it took several months, I believe you said, that to go ahead and heal. So this is not a short-term thing, guys. It does not look like Sanabria is going to be available, at least in the immediate. So it doesn't look like the Galaxy are going to have those DPs available, and a lot of the important starters or key players that make up this lineup, right? So that begs the question, who could be the biggest beneficiary of this? I mean, it's never good to celebrate an injury, and nobody wants to see that, but that means that the next man up has to come up, right? So this is an opportunity for the depth pieces to step up. Who do you think is probably the next guy up, Ananda?
I mean, I think immediately it's Winder, right? I think maybe looking at this, I mean, imagine if we had Ricky, Sanabria, and our whole midfield. I'm not sure that he becomes a starter, but he's now a starter on this team, Rob. And I think he's got to, fulfill the potential that Will Kuntz and the front office and the coaching staff are seeing him, right? And, one thing I thought about too, Rob, is, and this is something I thought about when I was watching, I can't remember the exact, I mean, it might've been the onside, or might've been one of the videos that the Galaxy put up, but Greg's been really working hard over the last few years about laying the foundation, right, from the academy level all the way up, right? And in terms of instilling that same playing style, that same philosophy, well, this is going to be a real test and maybe a sign, or we might get an inkling of how that's been working, because guys like Harbin Miller, guys like Tucker Lepley, guys like Parente, like these guys are going to get a chance, right? And so are we going to see that level of, yes, they're young, but conceivably, if the academy is doing what it's supposed to, they should understand our level of play, our playing style, right? For the most part, like the tenets and the principles. So I'm hoping that, one of those guys that, like, just give me one guy that breaks through, that really takes this opportunity, takes the bull by the horns, right? Like, that's what I said. I mentioned Tucker a second ago. Like, are we going to have another Jalen Neal type of story through the academy? That's what I would love. And this is what these kind of moments, when we're in these positions, it sort of shines a light on that a little bit. So I'm hoping that it shines a light on the work that Greg's been doing in the academy sort of these last couple of years, maybe building up to a moment like this, and then hopefully one of the guys takes the rein by the horn. So
yeah, well, it's a kind of an unfortunate injury. 2 games in, Lucas Sanabria, suspected fractured collarbone, will get a 100% confirmation on what exactly his injury is tomorrow at media availability. But I mean, Vancouver was clattering into Sanabria pretty much all game, and referee Drew Fisher, he loves calling a Galaxy game uneven, doesn't he? If you guys don't remember, Drew Fisher is the same referee that called the Galaxy versus Seattle in the Western Conference Final.
What happened then, Rob?
Well, this is the second game, and this is per Miggy Gris in the chat. It's the second game in a row that Drew Fisher has allowed a Galaxy player to get injured, long-term injury. Of course, Ricky Puig was clattered several times in the Western Conference Final. He ends up getting that ACL torn in that match. So, in the spirit of Drew Fisher's fine work, we're going to show you the tackle on Sanabria that should have probably been a straight red. Instead, not even called a foul. This is, of course, after the ball pops out of the challenge. Drew Fisher's reasoning on this one, and the podfather, Josh Guessman, asked Greg, about this play, and he said, I'm struggling to find the reasoning behind this one. Greg Vanney did let us know post-game that the ref said that the Vancouver player gets the ball first, and so he doesn't call a foul. Greg questions whether you can now get the ball first and just, go studs up on a player and nothing is called. Apparently you can, because this is exactly what happens. You clearly see, I believe this is Ocampo, going studs up, ankle first on Sanabria. This is pretty clear cut and dry. For me, at the very least. This is an instant red. It's got to be at least a yellow, but Drew Fisher,
That's a straight red. He could have had a broken, what do you call that, a tibula or whatever that piece, that part of the leg is, or even a broken ankle, right? You would have snapped his ankle right there. I mean, I don't know. That is a clear red to me. But the thing about this is it was just the inconsistency, right, Rob? All games, like there was touch fouls that were getting yellows. I know we complained from our seats there multiple times. Like, dude, what is going on? And by the way, not just for the Galaxy, both teams. It was just a horribly, horribly officiated game. I think pro refs have a lot of, actually, at least Drew Fisher have a lot of owning up to here. I mean, this is just as vile. I mean, what's the point of VR? What's the point of VAR, right? When it's this blatant, like this is ridiculous.
Well, all I can say is Drew Fisher, wonderful job once again. If they let Drew Fisher call any more Galaxy games, they might as well just start calling up academy players because everyone's going to get injured. So once again, Drew Fisher, fantastic job. Just really, you're one of those great refs, man. But moment of the match for me, Ananda, is I already kind of said it earlier. Miguel Berry, man, that hustle play leads to the first goal. There's really no ifs, ands, or buts. I mean, he keeps this ball playable and he gets it to Gabriel Peck, and Gabriel Peck, of course, has a presence of mind to put this one away. But we do have a couple of defending the badge nominees. There wasn't a lot of bright spots, guys, but we do have 4 Galaxy players that did put in performances that they could be proud of. Elijah Winder with his first start in the regular season has completed 31 of 39 passes. He had 1 block, 1 interception, 4 recoveries, and 4 duels won. John Nelson getting into the attack a little bit more on this one. 9 passes in the final third, 31 of 35 passes completed, 2 blocks, 4 clearances, 1 interception, 1 recovery. Miguel Berry had the assist that I spoke about. 2 chances created, 2 clearances, 2 duels won, and Gabriel Peck had the goal. 27 to 34 passes completed, 3 shots on target, 6 passes into the final third, 3 recoveries, 3 duels won, and fell twice. And it is little surprise that after 83 million votes there in the Galaxy Sphere, he picks up match day 2's defending the badge. Congratulations, Gabriel Peck. He was your winner last year with the most. So we had a couple of calls out there in chat for different winners, Ananda, and we'll get yours here in a moment because I went first last time. But Big Heck says Gabby Peck. XPH says Miguel Berry, the only right answer. Studio says Nelson. Maybe Ann says King Berry. Well, like I said, I went first last time, so that's you.
Actually, I think I did go first last, or no, you did go first.
I'm saying, bro, all the time.
No, it's not all the time because I actually cornered you into going first last time. It might have been predictions too. But
Adrian says Berry and Peck can share it. Maybe even Gar says,
yeah, I think I got to go for Berry on this one, man, because it's just he is, whether it's jokingly or not jokingly, but he's kind of a little bit maligned, right? But look, man, he is. I mean, Cristian Ramirez has not pulled up any trees in the first 2 games, right? And I think Berry's probably at least earned the right to start the first 60, 65 and see what he's got. I mean, if anything, he is a nuisance, right, for the back line. I just wish his game was
man.
I just wish his game was a little more polished. But if you need to go against certain oppositions and you need a guy that'll hold up the ball a little bit, make those channel runs, at least, just full sprint into that 6-yard box. Remember, he almost scored against San Diego in full sprint, right? Mickey gave him a sweet little ball. Got a toe poke on it. Unfortunately, the keeper made a good save, but he's been getting into the right positions. And I would argue he's got a better understanding of what Greg's system is calling for from that number 9 position right now than Cristian Ramirez. Ramirez is really struggling, right? And so who do you go for in that second? I feel like Betty's earned the right probably at this point to at least give him a run out first 60, 65. If it's not happening, that's cool. Make the change, but he's been all right this first 2 games, man. So for that, I got to give him credit and I got to give him the defending of the badge. Even for this game.
Yeah, I think I got to go there too. I mean, he keeps his ball alive. This is the hustle play, and that's what you want. I mean, if you're not gonna have, and this is no shade to Miguel, but if you're not gonna have the raw natural ability of a Ricky, I mean, you and let's face it, not everybody does. But what Miguel Berry does bring you is that hustle, that grit, that that drive, that ganas, and that's what you want. Like I've spoken about it before. I don't care if you're the most talented player on earth, or super talented. I mean, Galaxy had a player that was super talented in Douglas Costa, but he didn't put anything in for the shirt, and it showed. I mean, so I'd rather have a Miguel Berry any day of the week, because he puts in that hustle and that ganas for the shirt. I mean, and you know me, the shirt and the crest above all else. So for me, it's Miguel Berry, but the people I've spoken, it's Gabriel Peck. Galaxy dropped this one 2-1 after 2 matches. Looking at the MLS standing, they hold a 2-0 record, 1 goal for, 4 against. They are having problems creating. We've seen it in chat. We've seen it in the stats. 0 points so far, -3 goal difference in 14th place. So Ananda, there is a silver lining. They're no longer in 13th place. The bad part about that is that they're in 14th place now. Guys, it's early days. Don't panic. There's still a lot of season to play, and they can, banish a lot of those worries and a lot of that panic with a good performance on Wednesday against Herediano in the Champions Cup. And Diego knows that might be the balm, that might be the solve that cures all ills, at least for the moment. Here's what he had to say to us post-game.
It's tough right now. I don't even have words to describe what we're feeling right now. There's a lot we can say, but there's a lot that we can't at the same time, because if not, we get in trouble.
Smart.
But we, as a team, we need to be better. I think today we could have left with a point for sure, but overall, I think we all know that it needs to be better. And in 3 days, we have another game, so we also need to put this one behind and make sure we're focusing on this. This league, it's tough, especially when you lose 2 games. But everybody needs to just forget and move on and make sure the next one is ours. We're going to Costa Rica now for the CONCACAF, and we have to get a result there. It's not maybe, it's a must. We need to make sure that we leave out of there with a positive. Even if it's a 1-0 goal or whatever it is, we just need to leave with a positive, and turn this whole thing around.
Diego's not wrong. The Galaxy are back in this competition for the first time since 2015, 2016. They have played Herediano before. It marks their 3rd time all-time meeting. They've never lost to Herediano. They're 1-0-1. That's 1 win, 1 tie. In the last meeting between these 2 teams, the Galaxy earned a 4-1 win at the Digs in the second leg quarterfinal match of 2012-2013 CONCACAF Champions League. The last time they played on the road, which they will be doing soon, they earned a 0-0 draw at Estadio Eladio Rosabel Cordero. So they have been able to get a result there before. That was in 2013, March 7th to be exact. And as we've mentioned to you guys, the first leg will be on Wednesday at 5:30 Pacific time. And we do know that the Galaxy spent the night in Vancouver. They traveled to Costa Rica today. If you guys are listening to this later, today means Monday, March 3rd. Doing that multiverse thing again, in which we're talking about the future in the past.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a tough one, Ananda. I mean, not only are they banged up, they have the travel to deal with, but Herediano's been playing good ball as well. Herediano's unbeaten in 13 matches. Their last came in their last loss, sorry about that, came in the second leg of the Costa Rican Primera Apertura Championship final, and they still ended up winning the tie 3-2. So they haven't really tasted defeat. They're playing pretty well. They're unbeaten at home since December 1st, when they were beaten 2-0 by Santos de Hualipes. They were basically the Galaxy last year, and during their domestic season. The Galaxy did not lose all year last year. They lost very little at home. Herediano at the moment is averaging 1.82 goals per match in the clausura, sorry about that, and 0.82 goals conceded per match. Certainly, RSL found that they were a much more difficult side to play against than they were being given credit for. Their player to watch, Marcel Hernandez, 13 goals in the Apertura, 3 goals so far in Clausura, and 4 matches. He's played pretty much in all the big clubs in Costa Rica, so he knows how to score in continental competition. He's played for Alajuelense, he's played for Saprissa, so he has goals in his locker. The Galaxy need to be wary of him, especially with this defense that is giving up 2 goals a match at the moment. Guys, injuries, travel. Herediano's good form. We're going to ask you, of course, to drop those predictions on what you think is going to happen on Wednesday in the Galaxy's first CONCACAF Champions Cup match. I mean, for me, the big one here is injuries, man. It's not even just Herediano's good form. I mean, we've seen the 2 DPs being out. We've seen, Yamane being out, who was kind of key to what Greg was kind of trying to achieve in Ricky's absence. He's out. Who knows whether he will play. Garces maybe not able to play, a bedrock of the defense. I mean, Ananda, so much is going wrong for the Galaxy right now. Maybe they need to go down to Costa Rica and get that limpia, bro. I mean, they really need it. But what are you thinking when you see this one on the fixture list? Do you feel like just get out of Costa Rica without any more injuries, try to get a result at home, or do you say go for it?
Yeah, no, I think make this ugly, make this a slugfest. Give me a 0-0 and let's just go back home, get healthy, recover. Right. That's what I'm hoping will happen. What will actually happen, I have no idea, but that's what I'm hoping will happen. So my prediction is going to be more around hope than anything. Just give me a goalless draw. Don't care. Let's go home and figure it out at home. Right. Because, but like you said, the biggest thing is let's just not have any more casualties and have any more injuries. That's like the biggest thing right now, Rob, because we are going to the sort of the 24th and 25th guys on our roster right now, right? And look, hopefully the young guys get to play. They'll get their shot. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know if McCarthy traveled with the team, Rob. It'll be interesting to see if he gets a nod at all at goalkeeper. But yeah, give the young kids a run out. I think their exuberance, their youthfulness, their energy, hopefully that'll give the team a lift and will be defensively enough solid. Hopefully Greg will just imply or put together a solid technical system, especially against the transition. Look, quality wise, have no idea, no inkling about what this team, the danger that they can cause. Right. But they won their last 2 legs against Salt Lake. So they must be not a bad team, but we'll see. Right. But I think for the Galaxy, this is important in terms of just doing whatever you can, get a draw. Goals draw. I'm cool with that. Let's just go home.
I saw both those legs against RSL, and yeah, they can cause you problems, especially in the later stages of a match. They have legs. They have the conditioning under them. They don't really have that break. I mean, they played the Apertura, and they went right into the Clausura, right? So they're, if anything, kind of like in mid-season form right now, right? So, yeah, it's going to be tough for the Galaxy. It's not going to be an easy one. So, I mean, I think they can get out of there with the result. I think they can even get out of there with the win. I mean, RSL is well on their way to winning that leg until Herediano pops up in the 70th minute. And from the 70th minute towards the end, I mean, the last 20 minutes were all Herediano. So if the Galaxy can stay tactically sound, they can get out of there with the result. We have maybe Ant says a 6-0 loss, and then he says JK 2-1 Barry Brace. Zippers Forever says come out of there with no injuries and keep it tight, close the deal at home.
I agree.
Good night, Scott. XPH says tie 2-2 Fagundez and Yoshida. Hey, there we go. And then Hector says play the young guns, F the CCC, focus, and not dropping points. We need to save a water. Maybe Ant says McCarthy was in the CR plane pictures.
Could get a start.
Mike says, oof, my back is killing me. I'm sorry to hear that, buddy. Get that looked at. Also, get your foot looked at, man. Get that foot looked at. But yeah, guys, we're gonna take it on home. So wait, Adrian says I think the elevation is over 4,600 in that stadium compared to 39 in Carson.
Really? Wow.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know that the altitude was going to be a factor. That's definitely going to be a factor. I mean,
play the kids, man.
I'm from Ecuador, man. I mean, there's definitely
No
a
joke.
difference in going to Guayaquil to Quito. You do. I mean, you're just walking down the street, and sometimes la altura it gets you right.
Yep.
So that's definitely going to be a factor, especially if these players are short on fitness. So something to watch out for. That's another reason to maybe play the kids, like Ananda's saying. Greg might be forced into it actually because of all the injuries, but we'll see what happens. The Galaxy need a result in Costa Rica, and they need to kickstart their campaign. Maybe this is the moment that it actually happens for them. They head to Costa Rica. Well, like I said, they headed to Costa Rica today. We're going to go ahead and bring you our Champions Cup reaction / St. Louis preview pod on Thursday, March 6th. And then on Monday, March 10th, we'll bring you our Galaxy versus St. Louis reaction pod / Champions Cup second leg preview. So there's Champions Cup sandwiched around a St. Louis match on the weekend, but we're going to be here with you through it all. Anything else to add, Ananda, before we get on out here?
No, I always try to leave the last word with chat. I wanted to leave you guys with this because I agree with this. So Ant says, injuries, roster rehaul. I'm disappointed with how the season has started, but I'll back the boys from now until the last game of the season and beyond. And this is right. That's right. Right. That's what it is right there. In las buenas and las malas, right? We know, look, this team has given us so much to cheer about, I would say, in the last 12 months, right? More than we all have thought. So I think it's obviously like cherish that as much as possible. But at the same time, we've also got to move on. Right? We've also got to realize that, this is a different season. This is a different now, quote unquote, rebuild, right? We're rebuilding with sort of some younger pieces. And this is going to take time. I think last year was a perfect storm, Rob. And luckily, we got out of that perfect storm with an MLS Cup to show, right? So I think we've got to cherish it. But it's time to move on. And whatever happens with this team, I think we've just got to trust. Oh God, I'm saying, but just trust that process. But I'm being serious now.
Yeah.
Because like I said in the beginning of the season, the process this year is different. It's very different than it was last year. And I think patience is probably a hard thing for Galaxy fans, especially when you're in the thick of the moment. Trust me, guys, I was just as frustrated as you guys, as Rob was, as everyone was in that Common Space Brewery watching that game yesterday. But I think you have to put into things to context. We don't have two of our DPs. We've lost a lot of players to injuries, and now it's just about trying to build that chemistry and build that bond together as a team, especially for on the road in these tough positions, right? And that's the only thing we can do is just stick together as a team, stick together as a fan base, and that's all we can do. And hopefully we can grind out some results until we get Mickey back, until we get JP back. And some of those guys will trickle back over the next few weeks. So, but hold on for your horses, guys. This is going to be a long season for sure.
You like to give last word to chat. I will do the same today. Studio says, remember, the team doesn't need you so much when they are winning. They follow up with it's when they're losing, they need us most. And it's absolutely true. This team is out there trying. You can tell. Even yesterday, I told Ananda, man, every lucky ball is falling straight to Vancouver. Last year, La Suerte del Campeón was there. Leo said all la buena suerte was used up last year. Right now, it seems like they're not having any. So that's when this team needs your support, Galaxy fans. It's rough times out there in the state of Denmark, and that's when the Galaxy need the most support, especially as they kick off this Champions Cup campaign on Wednesday. Chill with us on Thursday again as we bring you everything from that match and bring you that St. Louis preview. Until we meet again, one thing left to say. LA Strong, Vamos Campeones, and G's up! Tu y yo. Bye, bye.